Hey everyone, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 296, recorded on Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. And on this episode, we're going to be talking all about the recent THQ Nordic digital showcase, the Gamescom stuff that's going to be coming up really soon, new NSO games, Premium Edition Direct, Zelda Wisdom of Hyrule, Switch 2 rumors again, and some other news as well. My name is Steve, and so happy to be here with you guys, and of course, joined by Barry and Greg. Barry, how you doing? It's been a while.
It's been a while, I feel a little rusty. Like, what do we do again? How do I talk? But no, I'm looking forward to this, and great to be back, and welcome everybody that's joining us tonight.
Yeah, and of course, joined by Greg as well. And Greg and I were hanging out just the other day, so I feel like we're just leaving Barry out of it. But Greg, how you doing since I saw you?
Doing pretty good. Just wish Barry wanted to come out and see us too.
I know.
Oh,
we should
no.
all just met.
I want to. There's a difference between wanting and being able to. All right.
Fun. Yeah, we get to hang out and go out to eat, and it was fun to see Greg in person. He exists. I know he does. We're not sure if Barry is real, because I don't think Greg or neither Greg or I have ever seen him in person, but
only Hassan.
Yeah. But yeah, we hang out. But yeah,
since so he's been locked in a basement. So what does that have to say?
That's true. Maybe Barry, you can let him out for our episode 300. It's coming up in a couple months.
Maybe I can.
It's kind of weird. Yeah, we're coming up on 300 episodes, 15 years of doing this, which is kind of crazy. Hey, if you're brand new to the episode here at episode 296, thank you so much for jumping on and joining us. If you've never joined us live, we go live every other Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We have been taking the last couple months or a couple weeks at least off. I think the last 6 weeks or so for a little bit of a summer break. But we're back, and I believe we won't be taking any other breaks, at least scheduled breaks, until around the holiday season. So we should be straight through for the rest of the year. We'll let you know if anything changes, but that's usually our schedule every other Tuesday. And we encourage you to join us live. We got live chat going over in Twitch and YouTube as we're streaming both of those locations. Hi to Jakester. And if you're also in the chat, be sure to let us know and jump in the conversation with whatever we talk about in this episode. Also, if you've never subscribed to us, please do that on whatever podcast platform you use, or here on YouTube if you're watching the video version as well. If you haven't followed us on social media, we'd love to have you over there as well at NintendoFuse. And also, we have a Discord that we would absolutely love for you to follow us there as well and join our community. All those links are going to be in the show notes and the YouTube video description as well. We would love to have you both on social media and in our Discord community. But as we do normally, we're going to talk about what we have been playing before we jump into this episode's news. And I'm sure we got longer lists than normal because it's been a few weeks since we've done one of these. So, Greg, kick us off. What have you been playing over the last 6 or so weeks?
Yeah, so primarily it was a few of the games we've covered in the game chats, like the Nintendo World Championships and the Legend of Gwen, are the primarily two of the main ones that I had covered, and you can listen to our game chats to further hear my thoughts on those. But just a little caveat on Nintendo World Championships, I did finish up getting S rank on all of the different challenges, so I did complete that, and I also got all the pins now, so I'm pretty much already done outside of collecting all the different icons. I don't think I was going to be grinding those out because that's sounds like kind of like a disaster there. So there's way too many coins to collect to try to get all those. So unless they do some significant addition to way to get more coins, then I'm not going to be chasing down all those. Pretty much then I was also dipping into some of the indie games that have recently released as well. Animal Well was a game that came out, I think, earlier this year. I think at the beginning of summertime. It's like a Metroidvania type game, and it was actually a lot of fun. So it was a game that I I believe we had talked about our previous podcast with like the for games that one of the indie showcases that I was in, and I really enjoyed a lot of it. So I actually like fully beat the game. I didn't do the 100% completion because there's just way a lot of extra side stuff to really chase down that you have really no idea how much stuff like is actually there to like actually fully track down. There's all these like hidden eggs that are all over the place, and I didn't have any idea where all those locations were. There's not like a tracker or anything like the way to find them, so it's pretty much just looking at like guides and other things like that if you are so inclined to 100% that. But I did like beat the final boss and had a lot of fun with the game, and really like the way that they have the exploration in the area. So it is pretty open world type Metroidvania because like the you get like the item to progress pretty early on in each of the areas. So I didn't even quite figure out some of the puzzles because you really have to kind of think to solve a few of them. Like it wasn't like blatantly obvious, and you don't doesn't really explain how some of the different power ups actually work until like you get into further really deeper down into some of the other more advanced areas. So like there was like a one particular puzzle I had to use a guide for because I was absolutely stumped, and I feel silly that I didn't realize that's kind of how it works. So like one of the items is like a slinky thing, and then apparently you can actually drop it through certain floors that you're on, so then it was able to trigger some switches. But then also like a slinky, it also can like go down like certain step platforms as like a staircase. So it's like you don't really kind of realize that as a usage because it was primarily a purpose was that you really use it was just like, oh, hold one switch while you step on a secondary switch. Then you're both of them are pressed down. Like it's a very basic puzzle trope where you have to have two switches pressed at exactly the same time to open the door. So I didn't really quite realize that secondary utility of it until like having like saw that in the guide, and then like it just clicked on getting to the more advanced areas to be able to even finish the game. So like I didn't quite understand that utility of it, but I had found like all the other abilities because like the abilities are found very early on in each of the different areas you can go in, and nothing's like fully gate locked, and so you can literally get all the abilities very easily, and you can tackle the areas in any order that you want by doing that as well, because you just need the one primary ability that you get at the beginning of the area to complete that particular region. So then there is like some of the optional content that you do need like, other abilities that you can still get, like still find if you've already collected those. But yeah, the game was definitely tons of fun and really enjoyed my time with it. Definitely a game that we've talked about previously was Cat Quest 3, and I played like the demo of that and I had really enjoyed it. So then I won't dive super deep into this because we will be doing a game chat on it eventually soon here, but I actually did play the game and fully beat the game. I didn't like 100% this one either, but I just had a blast playing that, but we'll cover more of my details specifically in the game chat there. And that led me to actually purchasing the first two Cat Quest games, 1 and 2. The first one's currently on sale for only $3.24 at the time of recording. So if you are very interested in the series, I strongly suggest you just spend $3 and get a game that's actually pretty high quality for like an action RPG type game. So I'm really enjoying the first one so far, and just hoping to continue working through it as the weeks go on here. Another game that I had picked up was a Ranger. That was another game that was on like an indie showcase that I had said I was really interested in. That's like the tile moving around ones, and that was actually had a lot of enjoyment with that one. Like the way that they integrated the bosses with like the how the tiles rotate. It was kind of interesting the way they had to take him down. So like there was like a boss that had like a spiky tail, and you kind of had to like maneuver the platform so then like you'd ram like the head into its like tail, and that was really cool. Like the way they kind of integrated that. And then there was like some other ones where like you were like manipulating stuff through like portals, so then you were changing tiles on the other side of the screen to like manipulate the boss's like movement patterns and that way. And like it was very creative. So like when you hit the edge of the wall, like it cycles through the back side. So like it works like both from the left to the right and the right to the left for cycling through some of the tiles. And a lot of the puzzles even use that mechanic, and that was really cool the way that was involved in pretty in depth there. So like it was all done without actually like jumping and defeating enemies in the traditional way. It was a lot more creative puzzle solving, actually just trying to get like run enemies into like a sword item that was in areas, and other things like spikes and other abilities like that too. So that was had a really fun time with that, and I did beat that one fully as well too. And then finally on the normal mobile side, just still playing through a number of the Roblox games with my daughter. The same usual suspects there, along with Simpsons Tapped Out. Still enjoying playing through the storylines there and collecting the donuts and buying more stuff.
Got to get those donuts.
Yep.
Nice. Looking at the chat right now, looks like Jakester has been playing. He finished Paper Mario 2, and about halfway through 3, and then started Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and still playing Fate Grand Order, and Pikmin Bloom, and Pokemon Sleep. He's still sleeping, so I'm glad you're still sleeping.
Hopefully.
Yeah, he's been getting some good sleep. He's been posting it about that.
Really?
Like, I think he's averaging like just over 8 hours. Like, good for you, Jixter. Good for you.
I am jealous.
Well, he doesn't have a newborn in the house.
You like to talk him out on the Pokemon Sleep.
don't
You don't
either.
talk about Pokemon Going when you're like going places. So you're still playing Pokemon Go.
There's the difference. There's a difference. Barry, what have you been playing? I see a big list.
Yeah, I've done a couple games and a lot of smaller stuff too. So on the Switch, still doing Pokemon Unite daily and Star Wars Hunters. Really enjoying both of those, and they've kind of become, not only are part of my daily routine, but they're also becoming part of my son's daily routine. Not necessarily that he always watches, because a lot of times he's doing other things, but he's picked up on the sounds. He was playing with other things, but he hears the sounds and he stops and looks at the TV and go like, it's like almost like comfort food at this point, because it's a daily thing, which is always fun. Did a little Pokemon Scarlet raids, and then put some new codes. Messed around with a game called Blue Kid 1 and 2. Two different games. Are like arcade style. Like Blue Kid 1 is more like a single screen arcade, very simple, and 2 is more like a Super Mario Brothers platformer. Again, very simple, but fun little things just to mess around with. Also messed around with Mists of Noia, which is a Metroidvania with like crafting and little light RPG elements. That's a lot of fun. And Spark the Electric Jester 3. That is pretty much, if you like 3D Sonic games, this is like Sonic Adventure style, which is really cool. Though there's like levels where you drive a car, which is definitely different, but it's a fun little arcade game. Legend of Gwen, as Greg mentioned, we did a game chat on, so you can check that out. Another game that we're going to be doing a game chat on, Deliver Us the Moon, which we look forward to that. I also did Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. I did not get all S's like Greg, because I did not have the time, but I did unlock everything and play through the challenges and had a good time with it. I did definitely enjoyed it. I did finally go back to Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and I finally finished that game. I never did it on the 3DS. I just fell out of it, and it's like I think the first few mansions were just kind of like, I'm not really feeling this, but then like it picks up and it gets better in the second half of the game. I got all the boos, but I did not get all the crystals, and I did not get 3 stars in every mission, and I don't plan to. I did that. I'm not going to do the scare tower, because that requires online and or local. You can't do that solo. So, but I did beat the game finally. So now I've beaten them all. This was the one that I had never done, so it was cool to do that. But we know later Nintendo's game for August is brand new Famicom Detective Club. So I decided to go back to the first 2, because I never actually beat them, because I got frustrated. And the secret to beating these games is to use a guide. So I did use a guide to beat both of the first 2 Famicom Detective Clubs. That's The Missing Heir and The Girl Who Stands Behind. And even with the guide, there were things missing and things that didn't trigger, and I had to repeat it and redo it. And it's one of those games where you have to talk to people or do certain actions multiple times in a row, but it doesn't tell you you have to do it multiple times in a row before it triggers the next thing. So it is very old school and frustrating. But sometimes it'll tell you, like, you'll highlight in yellow, like, you should do something here, but other times it doesn't. So it's very inconsistent. But if you use a guide, the stories are good. There's nothing groundbreaking, but at the same time, you have to figure these are 1989 games, so they were groundbreaking at the time. It's just now, if you played other visual novels, they're less groundbreaking, but they're a lot of fun. I'm really hoping the third one keeps the same cast of characters again, and I'm just happy to see the series thriving. So they're not long either. With the guide, I think I'm gonna say maybe like 4 to 5 hours each game. So it's not a terribly long investment. So was happy to go back and do those. And like Greg mentioned, Cat Quest 3, I played through Cat Quest 3 and I beat it in a day. Like I couldn't pull myself away from it. It was just a lot of fun, very lighthearted, and was able to pick up and put it down quickly when my son needed me and when he was awake. And I just had a blast, and I did every side quest, and I just didn't collect every single piece of armor and stuff, but and I didn't level them all to max, of course. But I had fun, and definitely look forward to more thoughts in our game chat. PS5 did the Vision of Mana demo, at least to the point that I could save. It is the type of demo that I don't like, where the stuff does not carry over. Therefore, I don't care because I'm going to be playing the main game. But you do get bonuses, so I played enough to save and get save data. That way, when I play the main game, I get those bonuses. But it's beautiful. It looks beautiful. But the main game during this entire break that I've been playing has been The Legend of Heroes Trails into Daybreak, which probably took me over 100 hours. And that's because I did everything. And it's just one of those games where I love the Legend of Heroes series, and this is an entry point. This is one again where they made it an entry point. You do not need to play the others to enjoy this game. You will definitely get more out of it because as the characters appear or are mentioned, but for the most part, this is a very separated game. They reference the other games, of course, but it is a wonderful experience. And if you're worried about even time, I played it on very easy, and like there was no challenge. It was great. I just wanted the story, but there's so much story if you want to see all the side quests and get to know people. And this is the first game that actually introduces a morality meter kind of deal, where certain quests you'll take on will you be more lawful or more chaotic or just somewhere in between in the gray area. But yeah, if you've always been curious about this series and have been scared, you can absolutely jump in here. The stakes are significantly lower because this is the beginning of a new arc. And it didn't end with like some brutal cliffhanger that I was expecting. Like even Cold Steel 1 ended with a huge cliffhanger. So it really allows you to experience a full story. And of course, Daybreak 2 comes out next year. So we'll see what happens next. But I do implore you to give these games a shot. And this is on the Switch as well. I just played the PS5 version. Went back to the MetaQuest 3 for some Tetris Effect. I've heard so many good things about it. Never played it in VR. Tried it in VR. Wow, what an experience!
Is it
That is
okay?
so cool.
I bought it for for Quest 2, but I haven't played it yet.
It is. I mean, it's Tetris. You're still playing. It's all the backgrounds, and when you do X amount of lines and you change, like all this like stuff starts flying at you, and it's just a really and it's peace. You know, it's calm. It's peaceful. It's relaxing, until it gets fast. But it's just a fun, chill. No, nauseous or anything like that. It's just a nice 3D experience. PC still playing Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail. I finished the story. I'm working on leveling all my jobs up and just knocking out all the new quests. And I've done so much in terms of like doing all the new sightseeing and getting all my max shared fate ranks up. And this means nothing to people who've never played, but for the people who play, that you understand. But it's just still a great experience and a great game, and I absolutely love it. And then on mobile end, still doing Mario Kart Tour. I was playing Legend of Heroes Northern War. That has since dropped off my list because I realized all I was doing was booting it up for an hour to get my login points and then closing the game. And I'm like, why am I wasting my time So the game is done for me. So I've moved on from that one. But I did start playing some of the New York Times games again. Wordle. I got back into Wordle and Connections that I play obviously once a day with my wife, and those are fun. If you never played Connections, I think Connections is like a sleeper hit that a lot of people may not even know about. It's you got like 16 words, and there's 4 groups of 4, and you got to figure out what the groups are and why they connect. And it's not as simple as like, oh, these all start with G. But this is where you learn vocabulary, because some of these words are like, oh, I never thought about using it that way. And it's really, really a lot of fun. And again, it's a once a day thing. So it's a very small time investment. So I've been having fun with that.
Nice. Yeah, let us know what you've been playing, either in our live chat or in the comments after the fact as well. I have been playing Nintendo World Championships NES Edition as well, as we talked about already. That was a recent game chat that we recorded and published. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you can head over there after you listen or watch this episode on our YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I am far from getting an S and everything as well. I'm just kind of playing it casually, as I talked about on that game chat. I'm just kind of playing it little by little. If I have some extra time, I'll play a couple levels of something, try to do the best I can, and kind of move on. I'm trying to get at least an A+ and everything, but there's no desire there to be all Superman like Greg and get an S and everything. Kudos to you, Greg. That's awesome.
Slackers.
Not for me. S is for slackers for me. And then let's see. I also been playing Wylands, which we talked about on a game chat as well. That was a fun one. If you haven't checked that one out, definitely go back and check out our Wylands game chat.
You get the uncharacteristically mean Steve in that one.
I was just telling what happened. That's all I'm doing, just telling the narrative of what happened. And then played some Cat Quest as well, which we'll talk about on a future game chat. This should be published pretty soon. So again, plug for subscribing to our YouTube channel, because we've been posting quite a bit of game chats over there. Jakester's wondering if I'm rocking the Cybertruck in Rocket League. No, I'm not. I didn't even get it. I had to travel before I was able to get enough. So in order to qualify to get it for free, you had to play with someone in a party 5 times, and I was not finding anybody good enough or you have to win, not play, but win in a party with someone 5 times, and I was not getting good teammates that day that I had to play, and so I didn't get it before I had to travel, and so I missed out on my chance to get it for free. I am not disappointed though, but I could buy it. I think I don't even know how much, but if you did miss out on it, you can buy it. But the hitbox is horrible and it's weird. So no, I did not get the Cybertruck in Rocket League. Also played some NES on NSO a little bit. I can't remember what games I played, but I did fire it up and play around a little bit on NSO. And then kind of uncharacteristic of me, I ended up getting a new console. I got an Asus ROG Ally. Sam's Club was running a really good sale on it, and so I was like, it was like almost half off at Sam's Club, and so I was like, you know what? I've been kind of wanting to get into PC gaming more and didn't have anything. For years I've decided not to build my own computer because I figured I would sink tons and tons of money into it, and I might as well just not open that Pandora's box. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's a handheld one that will run a lot of the games that I'd want to play, and it's all in one. I can take it on the go just like the Switch. And so I got it, and I've been playing Rocket League over there instead because I can get it up to 120 frames a second in 4K and on this thing, which has been really fun. Also played several other, dabbled around in all these Steam games that I had not been able to play for years and years because I just collected them from getting them for free or in a Humble Bundle or whatever. And I have a pretty decent Steam library that I could not play majority of them because I didn't have a PC. And now all of a sudden I have something to play them on. So that's been fun. So played Arcade Paradise. I'm not a big fan of that game. My goodness, that about made me want to throw up as well. I started getting a headache playing that game. Played some American Truck Simulator, driving through Colorado in American Truck Simulator, which was kind of cool, except for it skipped right over where the town where I lived. Like I did a little trip from Denver to Fort Collins, which is usually like it could take you an hour and a half to drive that distance. It took me about 4 or 5 minutes and skipped right over where I live, which is in between those two cities. But it's so much better than all the other simulators we've been playing lately on our game chats. I'll tell you that. Like it is, it's actually fun. I'm enjoying myself. It's not ridiculous like those other ones that we've been playing recently.
Lawnmower simulator.
Yeah, so much better than construction and builder and lawnmower and everything else. And of course, playing Rocket League, playing Clash Royale, and played a lot of Pokemon Go since I was traveling a lot lately, including traveling out to see Greg. So caught some Pokemon in Chicago. So looking at the chat, and Jakester did play. He played Firefighting Sim on our channel as well. And so if you haven't checked his video out, yeah, it was probably of the simulator games, we gave you the good one, Jakester. We should have gave you the other ones. No, just kidding. We took that one instead. We gave you the good one. But I think that's all for what we've been playing. We'll get into, as usual, the games that are going to be playing out are going to be coming out over the next couple weeks later in the episode. But to start off our news, as always, we're going to jump into some headlines, and Greg's going to kick it off.
All right, kicking us off, we had the THQ Nordic Digital Showcase. There was only 2 games that were will be shown that will be releasing on Switch, and that was the Eternal Life of Goldman. It's a vibrant yet dark platform adventure game, and then there was also Epic Mickey Rebrushed. And a side note, I think they did reveal that one's coming out on September 24th, which is actually just about a little over a month away. But there were a few other games that you can check out too, like Wreckfest 2, Space for Sale, Titan Quest 2, Gothic, which is a remake of a previous version of the game, and along with Way of the Hunter.
And that showcase wasn't enough. How about another one? Gamescom 2024 is starting very, very soon. In fact, it's starting next week. And on Tuesday, as in a week from today, August 20th, at 11 a.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern, and there will be a brand new showcase kicking off. Jeff Keighley, of course, will be there. But unfortunately, while Nintendo will not be there, there will be games shown off that will be for the Switch, including games like Civilization 7. So stay tuned. Gamescom is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, gaming showcase or convention out there right now. So lots of good stuff, I'm sure, will be announced.
Especially since E3 is gone. Wah, wah.
Yep.
If you have been playing or wanting more games on the Nintendo Switch Online, you're in luck, because if you missed this, there's been a lot of games that came out this summer for both the NES and Game Boy Advance, and also on I think it's basically just NES and Game Boy Advance. So on the NES, we got on July 4th, it was Independence Day here in America, we ended up getting Cobra Triangle, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, Golf, Mock Rider, The Mystery of Atlantis, Solar Jetman, and Urban Champion. And then on July 12th, we ended up getting all 3 of the Starfy games on Game Boy Advance. And then on August 9th, we got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. So lots of new games on the NES and GBA for the Nintendo Switch Online. So of those 3 stories, anything stand out to you, Greg?
Yeah, I think we figured out we were playing on NES Online earlier, probably the Donkey Kong Jr. Math, right?
Yeah, I was working on my math skills.
No, I mean it's always great that they're adding on some more games for the NES library. Sometimes the decisions is kind of interesting on the ones that they picked, like that one just previously mentioned. But again, it's still great that they're continuing to update that even this late down the road. Better late than never, usually, even though it's already nearly the Switch is nearly done, and there's still many more NES games that are not there already. Yeah, it will be nice to see the upcoming Gamescom thing, even though Nintendo won't be there. But I mean, you never really know what they will show off. I mean, you might be get some other games that are coming to Switch still, so that's always great to see. And then yeah, the I didn't really watch the Nordic digital showcase, but it's always great to see that Epic Mickey and even that Eternal Life of Goldman or whatever, that does sound like an interesting game that I was checking out. So I was been seeing the different sales, and I think I saw that one advertised as coming soon. So I was kind of interested in that one as well too. So um, yeah, I did see that the Epic Mickey was going to be launching soon, so I did add that into the notes. So I don't know if that was like a recent release or came along with this particular showcase, but I did see that they did put a date on it because I think our last podcast it was still kind of unknown when it was coming out. So
Yeah,
it's only a month away, which is great news.
that's cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that all plays out. Do we know if they have released? Will there be motion controls for it or not?
I don't
I don't know.
think so. I didn't watch like the showcase. So I don't know if they talked about it more in depth there, but
I don't
um,
think so.
I mean, since it is going to all the other platforms, I don't really know for sure. I mean, I know the Joy Cons would certainly support it, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they are finally just trying to make it easier, just be fully traditional, or since the Joy Cons can be used like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, that they could just keep them in there. But
Yeah.
I don't really know for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do because, like, I think especially with a game that was built around the motion controls like that. I mean, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it was really good on Wii, and like that's how I would prefer to play the game. And so, if they're gonna force me to use an analog stick to that, like that so much to be able to like have to aim with that all the time, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it as much as I originally did. So that's my only kind of hesitation about getting the remake on those.
I mean, if they did it like how they do Splatoon, it would be the best of both worlds because Splatoon's got the gyro and the Pro
Mm-hmm.
controller, and you could easily use both of the triggers, like the
Yeah.
ZL for like the paint and the ZR for the thinner, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can still kind of aim by moving the controller up and down if you want to do it, and then you can
Yeah.
still technically do it with the two Joy Cons each
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well too.
If they have both options, I'm okay with them using the other because some people prefer that, but it'd be great to have options.
Yep, we always say that on here. Options is always better than none.
That's true. And Nintendo's not publishing this one, so they may actually provide us options. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I just know it's multi-platform, so that's why I don't know if they're spending a lot of time refining, like fine
Right.
tuning it. But
It's true.
they could easily just try to like, oh, this is the easiest way just to give it standard controls and boom, blanket it out. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, who knows? I mean, pretty much all consoles and even Steam at this point has motion control built in as well, so they could build that thing into the PlayStation and the Xbox controller as well, and if they wanted to use it that way. So, here's hoping. We'll see. Barry, anything stand out to you?
The Gamescom stuff, it's always good to see what they show off there, so I'm excited to see what comes out. Um, THQ Nordic doing a showcase is kind of interesting because you don't think of them as much, but I'm happy to see them still, pumping out games and come on, bring on new Darksiders. That's what I'm still waiting on. New NSO games are great. I know, some people question games like Donkey Kong Junior Math. Well, it's an expensive game, so if you're ever curious about playing it, it's there's a way to play it. Plus, Nintendo owns the IP, so they don't need rights. They don't need to get any permission. They can just do it. So it's basically a free game for them because they don't have to pay anybody. I do feel that the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with NSO. So even the stuff late in the game is just going to work on the Switch 2. So I'm fine with it. But there's still so many glaring omissions of even first-party stuff. But I'm really happy the Starfy games came over. Sucks they're not translated, but at least they're there, and it's like, wow, Nintendo acknowledges Starfy again. Like that didn't see that one coming in my 2024 bingo card.
It's about that time. It's every 10 years they acknowledge it exists. So,
but yeah, that's about it for me.
Cool. Yeah, I was surprised as you were, Greg. I don't know if this is the first we'd heard of that Eternal Life of Goldman game. I did not know anything about it, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, it's a platformer, so but just adventure, dealing with legends and fairy tales and all that stuff is kind of cool. And so that could be something I'll end up checking out. And yeah, I already talked about Epic Mickey. Yeah, always excited to see what comes from Gamescom every year, even if it's not a whole lot of Nintendo stuff and their Nintendo themselves are not going to be there. It's always exciting to see what comes about from Gamescom. Let's see. Chat says Jakester is interested in checking out Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and if his work had good Wi-Fi, he'd make his coworkers play Donkey Kong Jr. Math for laughs. Just download it ahead of time. Play it
What's interesting about Mystery Dungeon is we already have a remake of it for the Switch. They remade both games, Red and Blue, as a combo pack on the Switch. But it's also good for preservation to at least have access to the original. But it's still kind of interesting. Like, does this mean the original Mario versus Donkey Kong could appear now, on the GBA and stuff like that?
Why do you guys think with other games that have both versions, they release both? Why only Red?
Because Red was only on the GBA and Blue was on the DS. It came out right as the DS came out, and it was like the GBA was still fading, so they did this as a cross-generational. So that's why the remake, Red and Blue, it's all together, but for NSO, they can only release Red.
Got it. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I've not played the Mystery Dungeon games. Well, scratch that. I've played one of them, but it's not good enough in my memory to even remember that I played it, let alone which version it was. So I didn't realize that those were split over two systems.
So. Yeah, it's the only one like that, and it's the only GBA Mystery Dungeon. So, but people just want the mainline Pokemon games at this point, and they keep giving us all the side games.
Yeah. That was kind of me. It was like, oh, cool. I don't care, but cool.
Yeah, because as soon as they get the mainline games, and everyone's gonna well, how are we gonna transfer over all these Pokemon? So
that's true. And speaking of which, actually, that can we can bring that up now. I don't know, like, you guys can let us know. I'm sure we have plenty of time after we record this, but it was interesting for me to I opened up my YouTube today and I saw like all these different Pokemon home videos that the Pokemon YouTube channel posted. So either they're ramping up for something, they announced something that we didn't catch, or they're just creating new, tutorial videos or whatever it is. But that could be one of the ways that we could transfer all those Pokemon, just tie it into Pokemon Home. So we'll see where that all goes. But if you're in the live chat, I mean, I know Jakester's really into to Pokemon, and maybe it has something to do with even Pokemon Home or anything that he's doing. So yeah, there's a bunch of tutorials and stuff like that they just posted today, like one right after another. So I don't know what caused the immediate upload of a ton of those. They may just be updated, or they may have just kind of got around to posting something that they've been wanting to for a while, or I don't know exactly. I didn't see anything brand new in the videos, the ones that I watched. I didn't have enough time to watch them all. But yeah, if you know right now, let us know in the chat. But I'm sure we'll do some research after this episode. And if there's anything big, we'll post it on our social media and talk about it on our next episode as well. But let's get into our main discussion for this episode. And first of all, we got a little Premium Edition Games Direct that happened. So, of course, our Premium Edition representative, Barry, that's on the podcast, needs to lead us through all the announcements that happened at this Premium Direct.
Yeah, so we had our summer showcase, which was about 2 years, 2 months of my life.
2 years,
Feels like
2 years ago.
feels like
Felt like
two
it.
years.
Yeah,
It feels
Now I
like
got
two
time
years
spent with
putting on these
Barry now.
presentations.
it's true.
It's well, it's a feeling thing, like but putting on these things, it's a labor of love, but it is a lot of work. So we're happy to be able to bring new game announcements. And I know a lot of people weren't expecting something this summer, and this was quite a meaty one. So in addition to giving just updates on the previous releases, which includes Wife Quest, which has shipped and is shipping now, and we'll put more copies up on the website soon. What a phenomenal game! You can check out our game chat on that. It's really great. Super Dungeon Makers in production, Anachards in production, Lonesome Villages in production. We're still waiting. Camp Sunshine is just waiting for the digital release to come out. It's supposedly still done, but we're just waiting. We can't do anything there. And then the previous series, Series 8, is ramping up and finalizing all the artwork. Because when we announce games, we don't have all the artwork and stuff fully done. It's subject to change. So the Series 8 titles, Scarlet Tower, Tadpole Trouble, Encore, and Gordian Quest, will be going into production soon. In fact, we have some game chats on all of those, so you could also check that out. But then we have Series 9 launching, and what a lineup for Series 9. So we start off with a game that we teased last time, just a wonderful experience, which is Curse Crackers, for whom the bell toils. And Curse Crackers is a 2D platformer. It's an action platformer. Most people have never heard of it, which is a crying shame. It's done like a Neo Geo Pocket Color or Game Boy Color aesthetic. Just fluid speedrunner, accessible with a bunch of different options and hidden upgrades and hidden things to collect. And you could play up to 20 hours in this game if you're a 100%er, or you could, play up to like 4 or 5 hours. The side quest is just a full world to play around in. It plays so well. And ironically, it's the second game that we've done that involves saving your boyfriend, or Wife Quest. It was saving your husband. But it's really challenging boss battles, and just you have your companion Chime, and you can use Chime to bounce and ricochet off enemies, and ricochet off Chime to get higher levels and or higher elevation. Just a charming, absolutely amazing game that's available for pre-order right now. The second game, which we have up for pre-order right now too, is a game we teased last year, and that is a game called Bot Gaiden. And Bot Gaiden is, what if you took Ninja Gaiden and Mega Man and you merged them with a comic book aesthetic? And what's really interesting about this game is this allows you can play any way you want. You can play more casual, but if you really want to go like crazy Ninja Gaiden speedrunner, you can. And I don't know of any other game that does this, and I could be wrong, but what's interesting is when you start a level, the boss has no health. And as you play the level, the boss will slowly regain health. So the faster you actually get to the boss, you fight the boss at less health. And the longer it takes you to get to the boss has more health. So think Mega Man, but if you speed run through a Mega Man stage, you can actually get to the Robot Master and have less health. There is no weakness weapons in this, but when you beat a level, you can you get different permanent upgrades depending on your time. So there's a bronze, silver, and a gold. And like Mega Man, you can play the levels in any order. This is co-op as well. You can play 2 players simultaneous. We're doing that in Switch and PlayStation as well. It is just it's a labor of love. It's done by 3 fathers who take their time out of the family time to go ahead and make this. So if you haven't played this game, it's just truly fantastic. And again, one of the things we strive for is to bring attention to these games to new audiences, because there are so many digital titles out there that it's impossible to play them all. So we want to draw special attention. So the next one we did, which is again another one we've teased for a couple times, and for the Switch. I see you going through. We could do the Kickstarter stuff. We did do some
Oh yeah,
Kickstarter updates.
sure.
So Poglings is still being developed. That is coming from Yojoiko, which is Chadtronic, the YouTuber Chadtronic. That is coming to the Switch. It is still in development. Then we did Crystalla. Crystalla, we're doing the physical on PS5, but it is coming to the Switch. We will potentially do a physical version as well. We're waiting to see how it performs on the Switch. It might be a Switch 2 title. This is a 3D action Souls-like adventure where you play as an anthropomorphic cat. Um, every time they show this game off, and it's in early access on Steam now, so Steve can mess around with it on his new handheld. It just looks better and better. Like, and this is the studio's first game. They're pouring their heart and soul into this experience. So if you like action adventure RPG Souls-like titles, give this one a shot, and I look forward to seeing when it's completed and how it runs on the Switch. I have a feeling at this point it's going to be a Switch 2 title. But it just looks fantastic and it plays fantastic. The demos are great. Early access is great, so definitely give it a shot if you haven't already. And then we did a little update on Godchard Chronicles, which was a Kickstarter we did earlier this year. This is a love letter to 16-bit action RPGs, Secret of Mana, Lunar, Zelda style stuff. Just absolutely beautiful. And it's still early in development because the Kickstarter just ended, but they shared with us some behind the scenes stuff. And both Crystalla and Godchard Chronicles, you could actually support them via backer kit, and you could still get the physical copies there. We do have physical Switch copies for Godchard Chronicles. It's just such a beautiful game with what a wonderful music. And there is a demo on the way, so it's one of those where if you're excited, that would be a PC demo, of course, but definitely something to look forward to. And what really excites me is they got Noah from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is actually voicing a character. That is huge. That is like really cool to see. So a little tie-in extra to Nintendo first party there. He did a great job as Noah. So it's nice to see more RPG pedigree come out and join the cast as a character. And then finally, we showed off a Kickstarter, we did Atomic Owl update. And Atomic Owl we showed last time. And Atomic Owl is just like a synth platformer with little Mega Man, little just some action, and that they showcase here just the first level, and the colors pop, the parallax scrolling, the depth and detail, the music is all synth wave. If you like synth wave, it's just beautiful. And again, we're working with East Asia Soft is doing the digital, and we're doing the physical, and that is coming out hopefully by the end of the year, at least the digital version. Monster Theater is really working hard on it. But again, there will be a Switch version of that, so definitely stay tuned. Then we next thing we talked about is the NES stuff. So for those that did the NES that still play their NES, we do have some NES stuff. If you're unaware, so we have two games that are already in stock, and that is Orbody's Binder's Tale and Bobby 67 Time Traveling Detective. Both of those are in stock right now. These are aftermarket NES games. They will play on your NES, original NES hardware. You don't need to mod anything. They are legit aftermarket games. It's just if Nintendo still made games, they would be officially licensed in that sense. Oratorio is shipping now as well, so we will have copies up on the website soon. Oratorio is like a rhythm shooter like Rez, but on the NES, which is really cool. And then Jim and Dill 1 and 2 are in production right now. Those are, the first one's like a Zelda game, and the second one is like a beat 'em up. But we announced a brand new game for the NES that we're doing from the developer of Orebody, Binder's Tale, and Oratorio, set in the same universe, Crater Song. And what makes Crater Song so unique is this action adventure title. You play with two NES controllers at the same time, not the standard way you hold them like Wiimotes, where you use the D-pads and you control one character with your left and one character with your right as you play at the same time. And that always makes things crazy as you as you play. But to do it on the NES, no other game on the NES ever has done this. Never. Like they do things like now with dual analog. So there's a lot of games that do that dual analog, but never on the NES. And it's so unique. And it's just what a wonderful game, and it has won an award during Midwest Gaming Classic, and it's just a truly interesting puzzle adventure game. So it's just really cool to see and to help a developer get a physical out there, especially pushing the envelope, doing things, in 2024 that the NES was always capable of doing back in the 80s, but no one ever thought to do it. Because again, you don't need to mod your system to play these games. These are using original NES hardware and original NES limitations. So we'll have physical pre-orders up later on. There's a you can download a ROM and play it through an emulator. But if you want that authentic feeling, you're going to want that physical. So then moving on, we did our next Switch title, which is a game that we did a game chat on a long time ago called Carl. Steven, you and I did it. Carl is from Nintendo and Morningstar Game Studios, who did Robot Named Fight. Carl is what was my indie game of 2022 when we did our game awards. It was just an action platformer. Again, a little Mega Man, a little Mario. Each level has a bunch of different stuff to find and collect, and you get power ups from the bosses you beat. And they've added a bunch of stuff since we played it. Not only have they patched all the bugs that we found, because when we played it in its launch version, there were bugs.
I'm curious though. Am I thanked in the credits there?
I don't, I don't, I don't
I,
know.
I think I need a little byline, or not a byline, a little thank you in the credits though.
I don't know. We did find some bugs. Again, that was back in 2022. It was early on. But
That's good.
they've not only, again, the game itself at launch, we both recommended it. Like I said, it was my indie game of 2022. But they've added, and what's cool is, and Drew put together a thing they call it the dump date instead of the update, because it's all takes place in the dump, which is the hub world. There's new items to make the game even easier if you're having struggles. There's new characters to interact with, different facilities, and they all do different things. There's a bunch of new music they've added to the game. It makes the game even better. Already it takes a great game and adds better. And this is a free update, so if you have the digital version, you do get a free, but the physical copy will contain this stuff. And this is what delayed our physical, because we wanted to preserve the whole game. So if you like action platformers, check out our game chat for sure on Carl. Keep in mind anything we said about bugs back then is passe at this point, and the game is getting this dump date later on this year. I think that's completely done. I think it's just going through digital lot check right now. So definitely check it out. And then finally, we have one more game that's part of Series 9. We actually, there's a Kickstarter first. There is another Kickstarter we're doing that we did announce, and that is coming to the Switch, and that is a game called Soul Quest, which is this action. Think Devil May Cry in 2D with a RPG fantasy setting. Just air juggles galore, just magic and almost like Golden Axe style. It's just a lot of fun. There's a demo on Steam. It's just a blast to play through. Really happy to be working with Freedom Games to bring this out. You can upgrade your character, improve the bosses. They show a boss in the trailer. It's a giant ogre, just one of many bosses. Some Metroidvania aspects as well to this game, and this launches, I believe, September is when the Kickstarter goes live. So if this looks like something that you enjoy, or the type of game you would enjoy, we will be having the physical as part of the Kickstarter, but there's of course a digital as well. And whenever you support Kickstarters, you're helping small indie. This is one guy, one guy in Brazil who's just making his dream come true with this game, and I think that's really great to be able to help super small independent like that to get them attention. And there he is, Thomas, right there. So yeah, I look forward to that next month in September. And again, it is coming to the Switch. But then our last Series 9 game finally is a game called Soul Stalker. And Soul Stalker is, I think we did Scarlet Tower, Vampire Survivors, that type of game, but it's level based, so it's not just random. It's you do different objectives and you move on level to level, gaining upgrades and stuff like that. The world is in 3D, but the characters are all 2D, like Paper Mario, and this is done by the same guy who did Outbound Ghost. So if you ever saw that, that is a Paper Mario style RPG. This is the same type of aesthetic. So if you love Paper Mario aesthetic, this is perfect. And unlike the other games which are more 2D sprite based, this is the worlds are all actually 3D. Just a lot of fun. This is coming out very soon digitally again to the Switch, and we're doing the physical, and really happy to be able to bring that out. So that stuff is all either available now or will be available with the coming weeks. We also do a mega pack, which you can get if you really want to get everything. You can get it all in one click bundle. But we didn't end there. We did our traditional tease, and we did our one more thing at the very end, talking about everything else with the hype button. We got all hype button that everyone loves, and the hype button that will reveal the next game leading into the fall, into the spooky season. And this is our scariest game ever that we've done, and this is a game called Elisa.
Right up your alley,
And
Barry.
right up my alley. And I test, and this is not. It's one of those things where there are certain genres that are not my cup of tea, but I still play a game, and I can tell, even if it's not up my alley, that it's a good game of a genre. Like, I won't let my personal bias. Like, I'm not a big first person shooter guy, but if Doom came to us, I'd be like, okay, well, duh, it's Doom. But this is throwback to the PS1 era horror games, but it's a lot of psychological as well. It's not just like standard survival horror like Resident Evil. It's got like a lot of psychological Eternal Darkness and creepy Alice McGee and stuff like that into it. So if you grew up in the PS1 era of survival horror and you're a big survival horror fan, this is absolutely up your alley. And a lot of people were beyond psyched to see this be announced and been praying for a physical, and we're working with them for the physical, and it's just really really cool. From our friends over at Top Hat Games, and that is just a little tease, but this is available right now digitally on the Switch. So if you say screw physical, I'm just going to be a digital, by all means you can actually play pretty much all these games. Soul Stalker is still not out digitally, but look forward to the physicals all on the website, premiumeditiongames.com. And a lot of fun stuff still ahead, but this was a real labor of love, and there's just a lot. Just the developers are all wonderful people, and they pour their heart and soul into each of these releases. So if you say stick it to the man and don't want to go to the big third parties, and you see all the bull crap that's happened with like Activision and the Ubisoft and EA, and you just I want to break from that. Give some love to these indie developers. These guys and girls are just, they're passionate about what they do, and we really really just want to give them the love. So happy to do that, and hopefully there's at least one game there that interests you and makes you want to try it.
Nice. Yeah, Barry or Greg, anything stand out to you from the Premium Edition Direct?
Yeah, I rather like the look of the very first game that was shown off. That one did look kind of the most interesting to me, of at least the ones that were shown off. Like, even though like the horror game not usually is my cup of tea, so I don't know if I would necessarily want to like check that one out. Usually like the super hype, like fast paced ones are not usually my type of platformers as well, where you're just kind of like rushing through and getting through as fast as possible. That those aren't usually my type either, because I tend to either over rush and then make mistakes, and that gets me really frustrated. And so like I don't tend to enjoy the platformers where you're just trying to race through as fast as possible, as opposed to like the standard Mario thing where you have a lot more time on your hands and such. So
that's until Nintendo World Championships NES edition came
Yeah,
along,
seriously.
and then Greg decided to be a speedrunner.
Well, see, that's the
Well,
beauty thing of like Bot Gaiden.
yeah.
You can make it so even if you're not good at speedrunning, you can actually play and enjoy and get gold. Like, I suck at speedrunning, and I got gold on every level because I put it on a lower difficulty and made it a little more forgiving. But if you want it harder, you have the slider to do that. So it is very welcoming in that regards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to say, like NES games and like a 5-second challenge where you're just grabbing a mushroom is a little bit
Right.
different than playing through like a whole Mega Man style level and you're trying to like avoid everything and trying to like, oh, I gotta get to the boss because the boss is super hard, but I need him to have the least amount of health as possible, so I have to like race through the level. So
That's true.
it's a little bit stakes are a little bit different than speed running. Like going like, oh, I just have to get to the first pipe here. Okay, that's kind of a little bit different thing there.
That's a
But
good point. Yeah.
and it's also a game that you've played hundreds of times before, like the original Mario Brothers game. It's kind of not really on a different level type thing too. But I don't know. I know I got super deep involved in the NES World Championships, but yeah, I mean, it's not speedrunning is not usually my type of style of game though. Is going like super fast. I mean, I'm not trying to like lower my times or anything. I'm not going crazy. Like, look at this. I have the world record on this. I mean, it's just like we're just more doing it for like the standard, like bragging rights of getting like the S rank. I'm not trying to get the lowest S rank.
I was just giving you a hard time. I know. Like normally you're not like that, but you just got into this game for sure. Yeah.
But yeah. It was mostly the first game that interested me the most. I did want to interrupt Barry for the first time, but having NES with 2 controllers, he must not have played Mega Man 3 because I sure played Mega Man 3 with both controllers. So that was one of the things I had a lot of fun with because like then you can jump super high, then you can make yourself have infinite life, and by jumping into the pits and removing like the left of the D-pad. So like I didn't require someone else to do that. I used both my hands on 2 NES controllers.
But it wasn't a requirement, though. That was not a requirement. That was cheating the system.
There you go.
There's a difference.
Yeah, that game reminds me.
Yeah. I mean, I've beaten the game like hundreds of times. It was just having fun just doing it on my own. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that game reminds me. There was another one, and I think it was I think Wii U when it originally launched. Now it's on I think all platforms, but you have to like it's more of a 3D puzzle game. But the idea is you play with a partner and you're working together the entire time. Now there's been several games like that, but yeah, to think back on the NES, it was surprising to hear that was the first time that's ever been done on the NES.
As far as I'm aware.
And I feel like I would want to play with a partner rather than rely on my left and right hands. I'd cooperate a lot better with someone else than my other hand.
Well, you can do it too if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the NES controller is not really known for its ergonomics either, so it's like it's going to be kind of uncomfortable to hold those rectangular controllers sideways, even. But it's not like 2 actual Wii remotes that are nicely like more like cylindrical kind of like shaped. It's actual like hard rectangular controllers. So
yeah.
So I don't know how comfortable that is in practice, but
it's true. Yeah. Games that stood out to me, I think Bot Gaiden was definitely one, as well as Crystalla, like you said, Barry. It looks better and better every time I see it. Yeah, and I didn't realize there is it's a demo, or is it like a early access that's on Steam now? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's a demo on Steam, and it's launched already in early access on Steam.
Cool.
So if you get it now, you get the game, and then you just get the updates. But it's not going to console until it's done. So it's going to be a while before it hits like the Switch, which is why I say it's probably going to wind up being a Switch 2 title, or PlayStation or anything like that. Because like most studios, it's just easier to get on Steam and do early access to get all the kinks before they move to console.
Yeah. So I'll probably check it out on Steam now that I can.
Now that you can,
which is exciting. Atomic Owl looks good. Jakester, I think, mentioned in the chat that it looks kind of like the art style of Ori a little bit as well. Just very vibrant, which is really cool. Like I love anytime games are able to just do some really pretty stuff with the art style, and love that. And sometimes it's too distracting. And I mean, Crystalla is one that looks really pretty as well. But I think Atomic Owl just like they're able to do that in a 2D environment, and you're going to suck me in. That's why I'm such a huge fan of Ori, because it looks beautiful, but it's also really fun to play as well. So Atomic Owl might be one of those games. Love that the updates are done for Carl, and I need to update it on my system and play it again.
The dump date hasn't launched live yet. Like the update, the content is all done. It's going through the digital lot check for Nintendo. Anytime there's an update with any game, you have to push it to Nintendo or Sony or whomever, and they have to approve it. They have to check it themselves, and once it gets approved, it gets pushed live.
Okay.
So we're
excited
we're
for
waiting.
when it does drop. Then
it will drop here soon. Yeah.
Cool.
But in terms of the content, it's all made and done.
Yeah. And then Soul Quest looks great too. So
yeah, that has a demo on Steam. You can play that right now.
Woohoo! I thought I saw Jakester actually mentioned it was recommended to him on Steam. I feel like I'd seen it recently as well, and so
Steam just did like 100 days or something, like with like highlighting different games, and Soul Quest was one of the ones highlighted during that in preparation for the Kickstarter. They did that as part of the attention, and of course they're with Freedom Games, so Freedom Games is pushing it and we're pushing it as well. And it's got a lot of follows right now, and like I said, I'll be launching next month, and it's just a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what he does with the full game.
Cool. And I will not be playing Elisa.
Not your type of game.
Nope.
So you wouldn't want review codes, huh?
I'll pass it on to Jakester instead. So there you go, Jakester. If we get codes for Elisa, you've got mine. You heard it here first. All right. Well, lots of cool stuff. Head over to Premium Edition Games website to check out all of those and a lot more that they have to offer there. And support physical games. Well, let's move on to our next story, and this is really not a huge story per se, because the game has already been announced. It's going to be out fairly soon. You guys, I forgot to write this down. What's the date for The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom? Do you guys know off the top of your head? Yeah, it's very, very soon.
20 something.
26th, I want to say.
Okay, so very soon, equivalent of maybe 5 or so weeks from when we're recording this episode, and then just the other day, out of nowhere, on August 5th, they decided to drop almost like a mini direct video to kind of highlight all of these different aspects of the game. And they talked about traversing, they called it traversing Hyrule, but it's so much more than the fact that you get to ride around on a horse. They've got so many updates and essentially walked through every aspect of the game. I'm not going to go into detail here on this episode, but I do encourage you guys to watch the entire video. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you can see it, but it's great to hear what they're talking about as well in the YouTube video. But showed a lot more about the game, showed off the different move sets and how you can mimic all the physical items that you can bring back and all these different things. Still no exact word if Link is going to show up in the game beyond just, being in fact, actually, Barry, I was meaning to bring up this to you. So Premium Edition seems like they're going down this path of saving the guy in the games. You should pick up on this. You guys should publish this one instead. So
I would love to, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you missed the news, Steve, but they actually did announce that Link was going to be playable. So I think
did they actually announce it, or was that a rumor that was leaked?
They announced it, but he's probably only playable in the very beginning, like that whole section. You have to probably fight Ganon in the very beginning and to save Zelda.
See, I thought it was a leak sort of thing, that it wasn't actually announced by Nintendo.
Yeah, because I think there's some theories on whether it's going to be more than just the very beginning. They don't know if there's like other aspects to it, but I think most people are thinking that it's literally just the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
but I think it was like the ESRB thing or some. I don't know. I thought
that's right.
I felt like there was something that was some sort of report thing that said Link is playable, but it doesn't describe to what extent. And that's where people, obviously, you see from the trailer that you fight Ganon. So I think it makes sense that you would be Link at that very beginning point in the game, but there's also not really any sense if you're going to get to control him at any point during the game or any other scenes during the game, or even like
Could be
any
a post game
content or any post game content.
Yeah,
Even.
that's where it came from. It was ESRB. So officially, still, it's not been confirmed by Nintendo, but there's a very trustworthy leak from ESRB rating. So it's not really even a leak. It's more of just a I don't know, spoiler from the rating system. But I do remember that now, Greg. I just couldn't remember at the time where I heard it from. But yeah, we can trust that for sure. But again, we don't know how much. I was speculating if that could be it. I think it could be fun if they were separated instead of maybe capture, but they were separated. And then so you control Zelda for a while and then you hop over and control Link for a while and they're on their two separate journeys back to each other. I thought that could be fun, but that's total speculation. I have nothing to base that on, but I was like, that could be a fun game if you're kind of playing on these two different separate journeys back to each other. But yeah, anyway, we'll keep the trailer kind of running here on the video version, but yeah, Barry, what'd you think of all this new information for Echo's Wisdom?
So when they first did the trailer in the Nintendo Direct, I was excited because this new Zelda game, and I was excited for the possibility. I was gonna get it. I knew I was gonna get it. I was already sold on the game. Somehow this trailer sold me even more on the game. Like this is I think a lot of people really needed to see this, and I think they realized that there were a lot of questions. Is this Breath of the Wild 2D? What is it? How much of a Zelda game is this? Why isn't Zelda fighting with her bow and arrow and her sword and everything else? And this answered a lot of questions, I think, and got me more excited. And it really brought me back to playing Link to the Past. Like thinking like as a kid, like, oh man, it's gonna be like playing Zelda again. Like play tons of Zelda, but like this is more like childhood Zelda in a sense, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So I'm thankful for this trailer. I didn't expect to even watch the full thing. Usually I don't like to watch or keep watching trailers on games that I'm already sold on because I've already done it. But yeah, no, this trailer was great, and I'm beyond hyped.
Cool. Greg, what'd you think?
Yeah, I definitely fully agree with what Barry said. Like, I went in not really. I mean, I was already initially sold on the game as well, and as with Barry, I don't usually tend to want to see even more spoilers, but I was still I guess there was still kind of like a weird like sensation that like it might not be quite the game I was going to expect it to be, but like this like fully solidified that like opinion that like now I feel like I don't need any more information or anything else. That I definitely already did that, because I even actually now I've already redeemed one of those digital coupon things to already pre-order the game. So like it's already going to be downloading as soon as it releases, and there's the release date for you, September 26th. But yeah, definitely very excited by it. I was really happy to see more information, and I think that like bindability makes a lot of sense, and it kind of works a lot into like the Tears of the Kingdom with the way Zelda's powers worked in there too, kind of like binding things together. And I mean, I know it was a little bit more time based, but it kind of felt like you were kind of like binding things in a sense. At least I did. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was really intriguing the way you can solve puzzles in different ways. So it does have that sense where it's like a 2D version of like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So that's very exciting to see that there's going to be different ways to solve the different puzzles with the various echoes and abilities and stuff that you get from this game. So I don't know if you'll have access to both abilities at the beginning of the game, kind of similar to those, and you can kind of tackle stuff in any order, or if this is going to be kind of more streamlined and almost, I guess, back to the basics of Zelda, where it's more traditional and you kind of have to do A, B, then C type behaviors. But
yeah,
it'd be very interesting to see how they will handle it, because even in like the videos, it shows like you'd have 4 abilities, because like it shows like the primary ability being shown like using like the D-pad, and then there's obviously 3 other slots that can be used there. So is it there are 3 other abilities that they're not showing, and or I guess technically 2, but They didn't really show where bind was going to be, which directional that would be associated with. But
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true. Yeah. Not to bring it up again, but I know we were talking the other day over lunch about this game, and yeah, it was. I think for me, I think I agree with what you guys have said, but I think like if this game is a little more linear, I think I'm okay with that. Like I don't have to have every one of my Zelda games completely wide open, open world sort of thing. If you want to, hold my hand just a little bit along the way, I'm okay with that, because I think as we were chatting about, Greg, like it's hard to tell a good story in a completely open world kind of game. But I think if you do make it a little more linear, you can tell a really, really good story. And I think that's what I'm also wanting. I from what they've shown in the trailers, it's going to be solid gameplay. I love all the stuff that they brought in there, but I also want it to be a good story. And I'm not skeptical above it, but it's one of those things I still desire, I guess, from it. Don't just give me a half-hearted story. Like I really want this to be good. This is Zelda's first time in a protagonist role on a Nintendo system, and so make it good. Make it really solid. Jakester's saying in the chat that maybe once you get done playing the main story with Zelda, then you can possibly go back and play the backstory with Link. And so what happened until they reunited or something like that, that could be cool too. I think one way or the other, I don't think it's going to take away. Like I don't know if you guys ever like your head canon like gets in the way sometimes and you're like, I wish it was this. And then if it doesn't achieve that, then I'm disappointed when nothing was ever promised to me at all. I know that never happens with any Nintendo fan ever, but I'm finding myself getting into that kind of mindset about this game because I'm speculating a lot. I'm like hoping that it's something like this, and I hope that it at least lives up to it, even though it probably is not going to be what I have pictured in my head. I hope it at least lives up to something that's just as fun as what I've imagined.
My biggest disappointment, I'm going to say, with this is upon seeing that initial trailer, I feel this would be perfect to get a Zelda amiibo in this style to match the Link's Awakening one. And Best Buy has the Link's Awakening amiibo and the Wind Waker Zelda amiibo up for pre-order for reprints launching on September 26th. So to me, that says this game is going to have amiibo support, but unfortunately, we are not going to get. I mean, look at that. That is right
Look at that.
for an amiibo. That is a perfect for an amiibo, but it doesn't look like we're going to get that. Instead, Wind Waker, Zelda, and Link's Awakening Link are getting reprinted. So if you missed out on those, you can actually pre-order those now, which is great. But if they're going to reprint Wind Waker Zelda, I don't see them doing that and also giving us one of these. And that kind of saddens me.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. I think because there's a lot of the amiibo stuff has just kind of died down a lot. I feel like if this was released a few, like even like 3 years ago, like they might have actually done more amiibo support.
But there's new Splatoon 3 amiibo. They're bringing new Splatoon 3 amiibo.
True.
So where's your? And this is Zelda.
I mean, I feel like that Splatoon's been more of a game that's been highlighted around amiibo since its launch, like the original Splatoon.
Come on, Zelda Nintendo. We want this, but Zelda. This seriously is one of my favorite amiibo. Just look at that design. So cool. That's amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I would easily buy it in a heartbeat. I've been collecting a lot of the Zelda amiibo. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, I feel like if this game had released sooner, then there'd more likely be that Zelda amiibo. Yeah. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it at all, or I would want them to buy that.
I don't think we're not talking to you. We're talking to Nintendo.
Yeah. We know you are, and we know you will buy it. It's the fact that this just seemed like, and Nintendo's done amiibo for games after the fact. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got 2 amiibo well after the game came out of nowhere. They never announced it. It was just like, oh yeah, we
true.
suddenly realized these characters are popular. Let's capitalize on it. This is Zelda. Okay, they knew what they were doing, and they have the Link's Awakening amiibo as a template. Because this is using the Link's Awakening remake engine. So let's come on, like what the heck? This is prime. This is money they're missing out on. I guarantee you, because by reprinting the Wind Waker, the Zelda amiibo, you're only going to get people who missed out the first time. Everyone that already bought Wind Waker Zelda is not going to buy it again. But if there was a brand new amiibo, you have a whole new audience, and all those people that bought all the Zelda amiibo will buy it again. It's like, come on, it's not that hard. It can't cost that much to make. If you're going to reprint, you're already running the machines.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking that they're kind of nervous this time around because I know Peach hasn't really been one to get really her own games. I know she had the one on DS, but that didn't really do the best. And then Showtime just came out earlier this year. And I know that one has sold, I think, at least 1 million copies at this point. But there's not really a ton of buzz even around it. And I mean, I didn't really enjoy the demo enough to even buy the full game. But I wonder if they're trying to be more careful with their heroine characters having their first, like, at least
But
major role in a long time.
How many
but
Zelda amiibo already? There's a ton of Zelda amiibo already. Like that, I understand being careful with the quality of the game, but when it comes to a figure, that's outside the realm of games entirely. I don't see. In fact, anything
Well,
it'll only
yeah,
sell.
yeah. I mean, I think they very grossly underestimate these kinds of things. Kind of like your famous Mario Kart example of like, yeah, there's no one likes Mario Kart. Let's just print one special edition and only sell it at the Nintendo World Store. No one's going to want to buy that. Surely not.
500 for all of North America. Clearly, what could go wrong?
Yeah, no one wants Xenoblade Chronicles.
Exactly. You see,
only
just
selling. I mean, it's sold. I think the whole series has sold between the 4 games and like the remakes. It's over 7 to 8 million, which is very good, especially for a game that we had to beg for.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, yeah, it just kind of stinks. But I think that they're playing way too cautious.
Yeah,
because it's like Zelda's first time around when they really shouldn't need to be, especially since they already have like the engine and the graphic engine in place, and they can easily use a similar mold that they did for Link, just obviously make it Zelda. And
well, at this point, I mean, there's still enough amiibo collectors out there that it very much be worth their while. Even if they don't do a huge print of it, it'll be worth their while. Like, why wouldn't they do it at this point? I think is my biggest question. Like, why not?
And if the Splatoon 3 amiibo didn't just get announced earlier, that this new Splatoon, which we didn't even talk about, that happened during the break, but there is brand new Splatoon 3 amiibo that they announced, and they're already up for pre-order on Best Buy and stuff. Then it'd be different. Then it would be like, all right, Amiibo's clearly dying, and like they're putting it out to pasture. They're just doing reprints. But when you go, hey, guess what? Splatoon 3 done with content, at least new content, and here's brand new Amiibo. And again, I could understand if it was like a smaller franchise, something that they don't have a lot of faith, but it's Zelda. I mean, that's their number 3 franchise behind Pokemon and Mario in terms of sales. Oh, outside like I guess Wii Sports kind of deals, which is a special case.
Peach is part of Mario, and Showtime didn't get any amiibo support.
Yeah, you're right. Peach did, but the game, did the game even have amiibo support? I don't remember.
I don't believe so.
I don't think it did. So then it wouldn't make sense to have it. But a game needs amiibo support to have it. But this has amiibo support.
And it has it. Yeah, it'd be a different story. Yeah, if it didn't have amiibo support.
Yeah,
it could have easily had amiibo support. You could have like scanned like Shulk, and she could have gotten like the sword ability, and you could have scanned like Kirby and gotten like a chef ability. I mean, like
right. We were just saying it doesn't have it.
It doesn't have it though.
Yeah, it could have, but yeah, it doesn't have it. So therefore, no amiibo. But this game has the support, so why not?
Yeah, it would easily sell.
Yeah.
I don't. Did they already say this game has amiibo support? Like if you scan like Wolf Link or whatever, it's going to do something?
The games, I believe, stated it had amiibo support.
Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've said what it will
Oh,
do, but I
okay.
believe
Okay,
they've
I
said
missed
it
that part of it.
has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
And again,
scanning like Zelda amiibo will do something.
if it didn't have amiibo support, they wouldn't be doing this reprint to launch at the same time. They're strategically doing this to capitalize.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously the Zelda amiibo actually will do something different than like all the Link amiibos. 'Cause
And
that's
the
why
and the Link's Awakening Link amiibo will probably do something different than the other Links because those are the two they're reprinting.
hmm
Which the Link's Awakening amiibo, absolutely, I feel are perfect for a reprint.
Maybe that's how you play as Link. You have to scan the amiibo.
Oh, there we go. That changes everything.
make him an Echo.
No, I want what was in my head canon. That's what I want to happen. That's not good enough. Well, let's move on. We got one more quick story to bring up, and that is that a lot of developers have been reporting, according to VGC News, that they should not expect Nintendo's next console to launch before April 2025. Again, VGC has posted a big article on that, so you guys can check that out as well. But yeah, a lot of different developers are supposedly saying they should not be expecting anything from Nintendo in terms of a next console. So no Switch 2, Switch Pro, whatever, before April of 2025, which means that it's not going to be launching on its birthday in March. But what this does mean is most likely we are, definitely this will be probably the last summer of Switch. So who knows when next summer will be, Switch 2 summer. And that also means that all of our predictions for the Switch 2 to be launching in 2024 are all blown out of the water because it's not coming before April 2025. So, Greg, what do you think about this?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, unfortunately, I think not long after we all made that prediction, there was already the writing on the wall saying that they were already looking to delay it anyways. So I had already had those thoughts already that prediction was could be grossly inaccurate. So it actually doesn't quite surprise me, and even when like reading more into this particular like article, like it does seem like it's more like we might get the earlier teasers more around like whatever February or even March, even like around the Switch's birthday, and then it'll just be building up from there. I mean, and then it kind of easily makes sense for it to either be like a summer or fall or holiday launch even for next year. I
That's
don't
true.
see it. Like I definitely feel it's very safe to say that it should still launch in 2025. It just all really depends on the timing and how much stock they can get and all that other kind of stuff, and making sure all the software is all readily available when they need it to be. So if they do like the teaser stuff like like before like March or whatever, like whether it's January or February, then you could easily see it like to launch like in like that May or June timeframe. But other than that, if it's closer to that like in March announcement, and then it's easily going to be like a more of a August or September launch timeframe, I would feel, from that standpoint, or even all the way up to the holiday, depending on how much time they need to wrap things up.
Yeah. I know we've heard before that Nintendo said that they're going to announce the console during the next fiscal year. Well, that fiscal year ends in the end of March of 2025.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
January, February, March, something is going to happen during that time. Like I don't see them and making that announcement before holidays. And so it's going to be January, February, March of next year that we'll have that announcement. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see when they actually launch this thing. It could be in April, or I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised, like you said, Greg, if they push the release itself back to the fall or right before holiday. I don't know. Barry, what do you think?
So a couple things. Steve, I completely agree with you. Announcement January, February, March. If they announce it prior to that, I think they're stupid because they do not want to cannibalize holiday sales. They absolutely do not want detraction away from the Switch this holiday. It's the last holiday. with no other system. So I don't see them talking about it at all until then. January, February, March announcement. I predicted like many maybe a January announcement like they did the Switch with a March launch. You know that the main Nintendo teams are all working on Switch 2 titles. We know that third parties, big third parties, are already working on Switch 2 titles. I'm sure some select indie studios or smaller studios are also working on Switch 2 titles. Not the solo developers or the three people teams. They're still working on Switch, and if it's backwards compatible, Nintendo's fine with them still working on the Switch to give content to their older system that's playable on the Switch too. Now, there's a couple factors. One, we thought Nintendo had nothing left this year, and they came out of nowhere with a direct that had not only stuff this year, but all new stuff outside of Donkey Kong Country, which is coming in January. Now, if all these teams are working on the Switch 2 and it becomes a holiday of next year, if they launch with a new 3D Mario and a new Zelda and a new Metroid and Metroid Prime 4 and all this other stuff all at the same time, they're going to cannibalize each other. If you notice, Nintendo usually will only put out one game per month with DLC thrown in there. Yes, this year, technically, April had Endless Ocean in the beginning of April, and then Paper Mario at the end of April. But it was one of those things where there was no game in March, so it was April 4th. Endless Ocean could be considered a March game. That being said, how many games will they have for the launch or launch window? Do they cannibalize themselves? And if it delays it to the holiday through a drought, they can't be like DKC returns in January and nothing at all from Nintendo until the fall. That would be death. It would kill all. They want to ride a high momentum into the next console. So I do believe the Switch is not going to die either when the Switch 2 comes out. I do believe that there will be a lot of ports and remasters and remakes to keep it alive and keep content there. And there's a lot of games that will have no way to play them right now that can be easily brought over. And with successes like Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario, just more recently, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong did well. I can see them continuing that trend. But if 2025 is nothing but remakes, for the Switch for the entire year at all, with no Switch 2, with brand new stuff, I think that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, and they're going to lose a lot of that momentum. Also, Nintendo doesn't like to announce things too early before they come out. Metroid Prime 4 is a stark reminder of why they don't normally do that, and they only did that because they needed something to change the direction from the Wii U's disastrous 2016 and really disastrous run. So if a January, February, March reveal, I don't see it going to the holiday. I see it going to be either April or sometime in the spring or summer the latest. And with a strong enough library at the launch carrying into a big holiday title. And whatever that big holiday title is has to be divorced enough from launch so it doesn't cannibalize. Like look at 2017. You had Breath of the Wild, you had Mario Odyssey, you had Xenoblade 2, you had Mario Kart 8, you had ARMS, you had Splatoon 2. These are all big titles from Nintendo. Mario and Rabbids as well was part of their Kingdom Battle. They didn't cannibalize each other. They released different months outside of 1-2 Switch and Zelda, but 1-2 Switch was we don't talk about 1-2 Switch. They all had their
Everybody
own
went.
months. Nothing really cannibalized. You had Breath of the Wild, the launch. You had Mario Kart 8 shortly after that. You had ARMS. You had Splatoon 2. You had Mario and Rabbids. You had Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And they all worked naturally with each other. That was smart, and that helped the momentum of the Switch. That's what they need to do again. So we need to see a strong launch lineup between first and third party, and then in terms of first party, keep giving us new game every month, mainline with like NSO games to fill in gaps here and there, and DLC to fill in gaps here and there. So it really depends on what they have to show for it. And this year shows us we have no effing idea what Nintendo has up their sleeve, because we all wrote this year as this is going to be the year Switch 2 comes out. We know virtually nothing about what's coming to the Switch. This is a dead year for the Switch, and they've literally given us a game every single month outside of December at this point, with old franchises like Endless Ocean and Famicom Detective Club coming back, brand new entries and stuff like Mario and Luigi that we thought was a dead franchise, a brand new Zelda out of nowhere. What the heck? So, I'd say anything's possible, and I'm just hoping Nintendo keeps on this trend of learning what worked in the past and not effing it up like they did with the Wii U.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't think like next holiday was their feasible option. I thought that was more like the last resort if they like really couldn't make that earlier summer time frame. But I really don't see it going past September, and I'm really more feeling like it would be more likely to be like a May or like June type release.
Yeah.
Just so they could have like the momentum go throughout the rest of the summertime, and then also like carry into the holidays with those big jaw-dropping titles. So
yeah, here's my prediction. It's one or the other. It's going to be April or November. I don't think they're going to release it after April. I think it's getting too close to summer, and they've never done a good like a home console release after that date. I think their prime time for console releases has always been spring, like right in the middle of spring, which is March or April, or the holiday season of like pre-holiday of November. That's like their prime launch dates for brand new consoles. They've released other versions of other existing consoles like the XL version or the Lite version or whatever, but those big consoles get launched in middle of spring or right in the middle of the fall. And I think that's what they're going to shoot for.
The time of year matters. I mean, the 3DS launched in, was it March?
And it failed.
And it failed terribly at the start.
At the beginning. But it had nothing to do with the launch window. It had
exactly.
everything to do with the price.
So you can launch a system in the summer. What system failed in the summer that was because of the summer?
Well, a lot of people say that the Sega systems have not been doing well
Dreamcast was $9,999, so that was in the fall.
It was summer.
And Genesis was in the fall. Saturn was the only one that came out in the summer, but Saturn didn't fail because of the summer.
Saturn was late spring, and Dreamcast was summer because summer doesn't begin.
Oh, $9,999,
September 20th. Yeah.
But it was the end. But the Saturn didn't fail because of its time period. The Saturn failed because Sega decided to jump the gun to get ahead of the PlayStation, surprise launch it without telling the third parties. The third parties that were supposed to be launch titles now were not launch titles and pissed them off. They only made it to select retailers, so the retailers expecting to have Saturns on their shelf later in the year when it was supposed to come out now got pissed off and said, we're not even going to carry the Saturn anymore. All of those led into the fact that hurt it, on top of PlayStation coming out $100 cheaper. So it wasn't the time of year. It was Sega of America being dumbasses and not reading the room. So hopefully Nintendo has learned their lesson from Sega's past, issues with the Saturn. But I think if E3 was a September or an October or even a November show, and they did the same thing, the Saturn still would have failed in America because of that.
Oh yeah, it wasn't because of that. I think it just added to. But I'm just saying, and like historically, it seems like I'm just basing it on what their history has been. It seems like Nintendo has targeted those two times of the year as the times where they release their console. And I know they do some stupid stuff, but it seems like they would have a rhyme and a reason of why they would launch their consoles in those two windows.
Before the 3DS, was there a Nintendo console that launched in the spring or in the first part of the year?
Or if that was way before I started analyzing all this. I'm not sure.
I think
I opened up an artitle for this, so I was trying to be prepared to talk about it. So
good, Greg.
Go take it away. Then you're doing your research while I'm talking.
Yeah, so it looks like both the NES and SNES were September. Or wait, no, I think it was the SNES and the N64 was September. Wii was, and GameCube
November.
was also, yeah, GameCube was also September. Wii was November. Wii U was November. Um, Game Boy, where's that
It was July,
one?
but it's a home console. It's a portable console, but it was
I
July.
know, but I mean, we're talking about a hybrid console, so I think both
Sure.
kind of can.
Well, we don't know if it's a
be-
hybrid.
Yeah.
We don't know what the
That's
Switch
very
2
true.
is.
We have
The
no
Switch
idea.
2 may not be. They might keep the Switch as the portable version.
Or it might be completely portable. Who knows at this point?
Yeah.
But it was July.
The-
Yeah,
but-
end of July
but-
was the Game Boy.
So and the Game Boy was super successful at the end of July.
That's true. I was talking about home consoles, but yeah,
But even home consoles. So when did the NES do it? Because the NES had the test launch in New York, which was different than the worldwide launch.
yeah, it's like all over the place. But
Well,
I think it
so
was
the-
it was October. I think
So
was the official launch. Yeah,
So then NES official in October, then September or November for every system until the Switch. Switch was the first one in March. So if that's the first one in March in terms of their home consoles, because yes, the Switch is hybrid.
that's true.
Then-
so all the other
then
home
what's to say-
consoles have come in the fall then,
So what's to say
So-
that the summer can't?
which is why I'm saying April or November.
Yeah, but before the Switch, there was only the fall. In fact, the fact that the Switch launched in March, we were all taken
Sure.
aback. Wait, what?
True.
But
Which is
and-
why
but
I
they
have
showed
two.
it-
I have two predictions: April or November.
But they showed it off in January, if you remember. That was the big showcase. So 2 months later, we got the launch. So if they show it off
Mhm.
January, February, March,
But
they
it's
can't
not going to
launch
be
it.
happening in March because we know that it's not going to be showed off or released before April.
But it's still going to be shown off. So if it's shown off in March and they release it 2 months later, April, May, put May into June,
Maybe,
it could still come then.
maybe. I'm not saying it's not going to. Like I'm just saying those
I
are my
know.
two predictions.
I know. And
because my actual
I'm
prediction for
playing
this year is thrown out the window.
Oh, throw out the window. We all have.
Yeah.
I'm saying like analyzing it like historically and what they've
Mhm.
done. There are absolutely. I wouldn't write out any month
Mhm.
really at this point. It all depends on the software. It all depends on the lineup.
Mhm.
And here's another factor with the Switch continuing, because I do not. The Switch is not going to die when the Switch 2 comes out. Nintendo is still going to support it, but even if they don't, of course, third party is still going to support it. Like the Switch is not dying. Do not worry about that. PlayStation 4 is still getting brand new games. Okay, we're fine. And the Switch is even more successful than that. Nintendo, if they're going to continue to support both systems, which I do believe they will, at least for a while, due to backwards compatibility. And Nintendo is famous for keeping 2 systems alive. 3 systems and they fall on their ass. But 2 systems they can keep alive. They haven't done that in 7 years, in 8 years. They haven't had to worry about that. So, I mean, technically we had the Switch and the 3DS for a short bit of time. But the 3DS was like life support at that point. They got very little, and a lot of it was just ports and and titles that Nintendo just put out to die. Sadly, even though there was some good stuff. How do you think they're going to handle that? Are we still going to get one a month? Are we going to get one game a month per system? Is it going to be like, well, this month is a Switch month and this one's a Switch 2 month? And again, even if it's just Switch and a Switch 2 in the same month, if you own a Switch 2, you can play both of those games. Are they going to cannibalize each other? There's a lot of things to think about this in terms of sales and finances and affordability, and
Yeah.
it begs a lot of question how the best avenue of handling it.
I mean, I have my thoughts, but I'd love to get Greg a chance to respond first.
I guess it really ultimately depends if they're doing the backwards compatibility thing. Because if they are releasing 2 versions of the game, like a Switch version and a Switch 2 version, then I don't know if they'll be doing that. And then are the life support Switch games also going to be upgradable to Switch 2, or are they just going to leave it as like a up-res type option that you would have with it, or like it's a number of things that they could go that route? Like I guess you could do like that digital upgrade nonsense that they did with the Virtual Console, but like buy this physical card and then you can download a better version of the game or something. Kind of BS,
well, that was
but
the Wii was
PlayStation
the
does.
standard definition versus the Wii U, which was HD. That was the big difference there. Plus, they had the gamepad functionality. I don't think we're going to have anything like that. I think any game that plays on the Switch will just be potentially up-res to 4K on the Switch too, but the Switch is already HD. And a lot of the games, like the remakes, like we just mentioned 2 HD, for example, like that didn't need 4K. Like it doesn't need extra frames per second. Like it ran fine. If a game struggles, like the original Link's Awakening, then maybe. But even then, I think just more power will fix frame rates.
But yeah, if this is gonna be an entirely unique thing, or if it is a Switch 2 that some reason doesn't play original Switch games, then that obviously wouldn't necessarily cannibalize it. But I think that would be a worse decision they could ever make in general. It really should be backwards compatible no matter which way you try to run it. But
Yeah, I saw a rumor about like a new patent for a cartridge that showed like backwards compatibility for the Switch too. Like at this point, if it's not, Nintendo is just dumb. The Switch was way too successful for them not to piggyback off of it.
Yeah.
Even though Wii U, as failure as it was, did it.
I did find 2 consoles that did release in the summertime. We had the Game Boy Advance in June, and Nintendo's first hybrid console, the Virtual Boy, released in August.
And neither of them really did that great in the beginning, especially Virtual Console. But Game Boy Advance didn't really take off until the SP.
I disagree on that.
It was popular, but it wasn't huge until then. Like I didn't see Game Boy Advance. I feel like I was one of the few people that I knew that had one. And then all of a sudden SP came out and I saw them everywhere.
Oh, we all had.
Totally my anecdotal evidence, but
you couldn't play it out in the sun though. That GBA, the original GBA in the sun was death.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't just the launch window that was a little bit of a hindrance to it. But yeah, I think
the summer is also the sun.
Right,
you couldn't play it outside.
That is interesting. Give us something you can't play outside in the summer. They really thought that one through. I think back to your question, Barry, though. If I were in Nintendo's shoes, and I would see them still supporting third party for the existing Switch after the Switch 2 launch, but not first party anymore. Maybe a couple trickles out of stuff that was still in the works, but I would say third party support will continue for a while. First party support will primarily, with very, very few exceptions, move on to the Switch 2. And then, yes, things will be backwards compatible that you can play. They'll be up-resed or whatever that will happen. But I think Nintendo first party is going to push their support to the next system in terms of games, but they'll still support the system for a while, maybe even give us an additional light version that is even smaller, lighter, better battery, something like that will become like the handheld version of the game, the console, that pillar that they had before. And then the Switch successor will become their primary home console pillar. Hopefully it has handheld as well, but I think first party support will be moved over.
So let me ask you this. We know most main first-party teams, like internal first-party teams, are working on the Switch. So the Switch 2, I mean. We do also know that a lot of smaller titles are, like Peach Showtime, for example, was done by Goodfield. That's not an internal team. As it's done by a friend, almost like a second party. Mm-hmm. For second parties and other titles or companies like Grezzo that do ports or enhanced versions and stuff like that, they're not internal first party. You don't see those being with the Switch 2. Like for example, if you were to take Wind Waker HD, we've been all like, when's Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD? That can easily run on the Switch. Easily, no question. It ran on the Wii U just fine. You would say, let's take that and put it on the Switch 2, a system with a very small install base at the time, because we're talking launch window, versus a system that has the largest install base in the history of video gaming that's also playable on the new system. To me, that seems like a no-brainer Switch title that's be played on the Switch. Why would you put it only on the Switch too?
Sure, and maybe those, I said with few exception, and maybe those remakes could be the few exception.
I think we're going to see a lot. That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of remakes and ports.
That thing could be it, but as far as like new games, true first party support that they're pouring in, because because that's like you said, those are friends of Nintendo. The second party, those are people that are like just porting over existing games. Sure, they may still exist on the Switch, but I think true first party support is moving on to the Switch too.
Yeah, like I don't think we're getting like a new Zelda game or anything like that. It would be
not
like
not
get
anymore.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is I think that Echoes of Wisdom will probably be the last Zelda game that would be launched.
That I agree with.
Anything that's like both? True first party support.
What about both systems though? You still have that install base. So you have this conundrum. You want to do system sellers to get people to buy the brand new system, but you also want to sell software because when you sell software, you make money on each unit sold. So do you put it only on a system that has, let's say, 5 million units in the Switch 2 early on, or the system with 150 million units, or both? So you capitalize on 155 million
if it can be. Maybe both, but honestly, I see him going to the new system. Like, why support something that's going out? That's honestly,
Sony did that. For example, they did like God of War, Horizon. They were all PS4 and PS5.
But I think possibly it could maybe depend on how many consoles they're going to get out there too, because I think possibly, I'm not sure, but I've heard. And I could be hearing wrong, that some of the reason why Sony supported the PS4 longer than it probably should have was because it was really, really, really hard to get people's hands on a PS5. And so if that is the case, I could see maybe them porting some games down for the existing Switch to just because people can play the game if there's only a handful of Switch 2s that they can get out there. But I think in terms of and again, I have no degree or any sort of thing in business, but if I were them, I think I would be pushing to the next thing because that's the future of money. There's already tons and tons and tons of games. All of them are in your basement, Barry, with the Switch games. There's plenty of games to play on the existing Switch. So push the new games to the new system to sell consoles as well.
Now, a quick monkey wrench thrown in here for you, Steve. What about a staggered release like Twilight Princess, where the Wii launched a month before the GameCube version? What about a Switch 2 version coming out a month before the Switch version of it?
Maybe. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of that. I didn't care. If they do it, then fine. But
they've done it before.
Yeah. They haven't made a habit of it, but I mean, no. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it with 1 or 2 games, but I wouldn't see them doing that on everything. I think it's the exception. I think far and away they're going to be putting the focus on the next console.
And I also want to say that I think they kind of learned their lesson with the 3DS. They kept the thing on like life support for way too long, and I think a lot of the sales proved it. I mean, it was mostly a lot of the Mario and Luigi games that had to feel the suffrage, and that obviously caused Alpha Dream to go under in the end, just because they were. I think they were very uncertain how the Switch would do after the Wii U, obviously, but I think just they were seeing that it was already kind of like it was way past its prime and not necessarily worth all the effort putting into remaking those excellent games to begin with. But I don't think there was necessarily a market for it because a lot of people had already moved on from the 3DS in general.
Well, you also have to look at this with the 3DS. One, the architecture of the 3DS was 100% different than every other console out there, where the architecture for the Switch is very similar to the PS4 and Xbox, which are still getting games, plus the PS5 and the Series X, just less powerful. That's one. Two, look at the third-party support for the 3DS post-Switch launch. Virtually none. Atlas was huge. Outside of Atlas, there was pretty much nothing else. It was Nintendo and Atlas for 2017 until like 2019 or whenever the 3DS truly died. That was it. But if you look at the Switch third-party support, it's astronomical. It's in night and day difference. So
when you have like the highest selling console, everybody wants a piece of that pie.
Right. So the Switch, I mean, we've already seen systems like the Vita, for example, live for good 4 or 5 years post Sony stopping supporting of it. So if the Vita, a failed system, can support for that long without Sony support, as long as Nintendo's still printing carts and the architecture still exists, the Switch on third party and indie games could live for the next decade and a half easily
100%.
without
100%.
Nintendo.
Yeah, I don't see third
Until they
party
shut the eShop
support
down.
dying for a while. Yeah.
Until
If
they
ever,
announced in like 2026 that the eShop shutting down.
oh God,
then,
that would
then support
be
premium
incredible.
edition games and other companies like it.
Well, see, the reason the Wii U, the reason these things shut down is because it becomes more costly to keep them up than they're making on it. It's a business. People weren't accessing the Wii, like the 360 just shut down. Like that sucks. But there's a lot of great games that are now lost because of that. But there weren't enough people accessing the 360 shop, to buy, so they shut that down. The servers weren't worth it. The Switch servers are going to be alive for a long time in terms of that.
Yeah.
And if they're smart, and the Switch servers and the Switch 2 servers piggyback off each other, and it's the same architecture, meaning shutting off one shuts off the other, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because then as long as they're keeping using that architecture, they'll keep it up for indefinitely, and people will keep the. I mean, look, we just talked about aftermarket NES games, so your aftermarket Switch games will be forever at that point, as long as they can get it on the shop and Nintendo's allowing submissions. The only problem is Nintendo owns the proprietary rights to the cartridges, which is what sucked when they stopped 3DS. And they killed physical production. There was still a lot of great digital-only 3DS games that could have been saved by moving to cartridges for preservation that they can't because Nintendo owns that. Once the rights end on manufacturing, that's why we have NES aftermarket, because other people can make the shells, other people can make the boards, and we can dump ROMs because it's past a certain period of time. Same with Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, etc.
They made them back then too, but they were just not approved.
They were called Tengen, and Wisdom Tree and all that. You're right.
Yeah.
But there were stricter rules now than there were then.
Totally.
But Nintendo proprietary makes those cards. Same with 3DS. So and DS as well. There are fake DS games though, because it uses like that weird chip. I forget what it is. But 3DS is a proprietary. And same with UMDs with PSP. It's proprietary.
Yeah.
And they started doing this for pirating reasons. That's why they use proprietary. Until the day that Nintendo either loses the rights and anyone can make Switch games, we're at the mercy of them in terms of physical. If they shut down the factories and say we're not doing it anymore, it's going to be a sad day, but we're at the mercy. And that really sucks.
Yeah.
And the one thing about the Switch architecture is I really hope that the online infrastructure really certainly changes with the new successor, because that's one thing I really hope that needs to change with that, because the architecture, because that's the current state of that is not very good. If they can't even get a game like NES World Championships to have proper actual leaderboards.
I feel like we've been saying this since the Wii Connect days and the DS.
And now they're getting monthly and annual support from us financially. Improve these things. Yeah, I think as long as they keep them the same between the Switch and Switch successor, I don't care. Like, keep enhancing it, but keep them on the same.
Oh,
idea.
They will.
Yeah, they have to.
Like PlayStation's that way, Xbox is that way.
It's just the way of the future. Yeah,
it is.
It's the way of the now, and it will be the way of the future.
It's not in the future.
Yeah. Well, let's move on because we are already pretty much right at 2 hours, and so we're gonna wrap up in just a bit. But before we do, our next episode will be live on August 27th, 2024. But until then, there's some games that are coming out, and we're going to be scrolling them as usual. Compliments of Metacritic's list online. Some games that we wanted to just kind of point out that kind of caught at least my attention when I was looking through. August 20th, we're getting Stumble Guys. It's coming over to the Switch. It's been out for other systems already. Very similar to Fall Guys. And then also NT Creates Gold Archive Collection is also coming out on August 20th. August 22nd, we're getting Rise Eterna War. And August 23rd is Magnus Trilogy. August 27th, on the date of our next episode, is Dead by Daylight Castlevania. And then right after our next episode is going to be Soka Penguin, which we've talked about on previous episodes as well. Those poor little penguins that keep losing their home. But yeah, any of these games stand out to you guys, or anything else you're going to be hopefully playing over the next couple weeks? Let's go to you first, Greg.
I don't believe anything stood out this particular time around. I'm still making sure I'm staying up to date on some of the other ones I missed. Like I had said, I finally picked up like a Ranger and Animal Well at the very beginning, and I know those were like initially earlier in the summertime that had launched. So I believe I'm mostly caught up on those types of games. So we'll probably be just continuing forward with Cat Quest 1 and 2, and then also finally going to jump back into the 1,000-Year-Old Door once those two are wrapped up, and all hopes to be all set ready for Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom next month, along with Epic Mickey.
Nice. Barry, how about you?
Yeah, right now I'm at that rare stage where I'm like, I'm have a break before the end of this month where we have a brand new, Famicom Detective Club, as well as Visions of Mana come out at the end of this month. So I'm kind of enjoying this little break, and I'm thinking about picking up and doing a visual novel. Even though I did the Famicom Detective Club games, like just a more meaty visual novel, just something nice, more nice and relaxing. I just did some big RPGs and stuff, and going head first into the fall, because this is a really jam-packed fall as well. So I'm kind of just enjoying this nice little breather after this hectic few weeks I've had, and definitely some game chat games I'm sure will go on, and there's always games I'm testing for premium as well that I can't talk about just yet, but certainly looking forward to what the end of this year and the rest of this year have in store for us. It's just it's a banger of a year.
That's true. Yeah, I think of new games, there's really nothing that definitely caught my eye. I'll probably try Stumble Guys out because I think it's free to play. I'm pretty sure it was on other systems, so I'm almost certain it's going to be free to play on Switch as well. So I'll check it out just to see what it's like. Yeah, probably end up playing. Was it Soul Quest? Is that the name of it? That's over on Steam. Probably want to try that one out and everything too. Definitely I ended up got SteamWorld Heist to One Piece Odyssey also ended up getting, and a few other Ace Combat 7 as well. Some other games that I've got downloaded and just haven't not played yet because I'm playing more Cat Quest. So yeah, be checking those out soon as well. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some time to talk about those or to play those and then talk about them on our next episode as well. So cool. That brings us to the end of this episode. Like I said, we'll be recording live on August 27th for episode 297, inching closer and closer to our 15th year anniversary on episode 300. Thank you all for tuning in. Barry, anything else going on in your world before the next episode?
Yeah, actually, this Sunday I'll be joining a few people, including John Rue, who was an early industry talk for Quest Arrest on Game Boy, to join good friends of mine. The Game Deflators are actually celebrating their 300th episode.
Oh, wow.
And they asked a few of their people, a few of their friends to come on to help celebrate. So I was asked to join that. So truly an honor, and that will most likely air before our next episode. So it was really cool to do that. So I'm going to be part of 300 episodes in the same year.
It's almost like we scheduled it like that way.
Almost
we did not.
like it.
We didn't even come close to scheduling that. It's complete coincidence.
But yeah, that's about it. Other than life and the everyday and watching my son grow. He got his first haircut this past weekend, which was awesome, and he was crying and very upset and didn't understand why we couldn't hold him while he was getting a cut. And he's at that age now where you put him down sometimes, he's just like, no, and he starts crying and crawling after you like, no, I don't want to be put down yet. When I came down here to do the podcast. I said goodnight to him, and I put him down, and he cried as I came down the stairs, and he kept to the door was closed, and I just heard him crying, and I'm like, good night, it's okay. Like, I'm not gonna raise you to be a crybaby. Like, you'll deal with it. You're fine. Your mother's up there. You're not alone. But yeah, he takes up so much of my attention in a good way, and just have a blast with him.
For sure. Yeah. Greg, what's going on in your world?
Yeah, so it looks like I will be moving, and it looks like our episode 300 might be the first podcast at potentially the new house. So we had our home inspection done earlier today, so it looks like it was mostly like a pretty decent list. Like it wasn't like over complex stuff that can't be like requested or looked for like credits and fixes and whatnot. So we'll be very likely like going through with like the sale and everything, and then the tentative closing date for that is like on September like 12th or whatever for that. So thinking right around like that time frame, like the podcast after that would be like the 300th episode, which would be the first one at my new house. So that would be very fun to have that all ready to go and newish background and everything like that too. So
Cool.
that would be pretty exciting to have all up and ready to go. So I mean, over the coming next 2 episodes, my background may or may not change depending on how I have things like packed up. I did have to remove a lot of the amiibos and everything now, so it's more bare bones and just has a few of my Zelda frames, and I even got like a new Tetris light that's like barely visible here. But I found that on like the TikTok shop, and it actually is like a fully like all a bunch of different Tetris pieces, and they're all different color like lights and stuff. The lights are not on right now, but I did pick that up to add to my collection as well too. So
Cool.
main thing that's going on there. So
Cool. Yeah, actually, I think the next couple of weeks, I am not traveling, so I'm settled in. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of like in-state traveling at the end of September, but I'm stationary for the most part for the next several weeks. So that'll give me some time to play some games actually on my TV, because there's some Switch games that I could have played when I was traveling, but I'm like, I'd rather play these with a Pro controller on my TV rather than in a handheld version. So I've held off on a couple of those. Ace Combat 7 is one of those. I'm like, I want to see this thing on my big screen instead. So yeah, I don't know what else is going to go in my world until then, but hopefully some more time with games. That's what I'm hoping for. But again, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. If you have not subscribed on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, be sure to do that so you don't miss other episodes that we post anytime we go live, anytime we post game chats and all that stuff. Again, Cat Quest game chat is going to be coming out pretty soon, as well as several other games that we've been playing, and hopefully we'll be discussing those soon as well. I've been starting to try to post more on NintendoFuse.com a little bit lately too, getting some news and reviews of there, so be sure to check that out. It's kind of been a little dormant the last several months, but we're going to try to revive that a little bit, so make sure you head over to our website as well, and follow us on social media. Tell other people, other gamers that might enjoy Nintendo, check us out as well. Sharing really helps us out a lot. So thanks again, and we'll see you on August 27th for our next episode. Happy game, everybody.
Have a good one.
see you next time.